Well, Nigel, you've had a little bit of a break from matches. How have you spent the last sort of 10, 11 days?
Probably like most people inside when it's been raining.
Have you been able to get a break, I guess is what I'm asking.
And I think it's been it's come at a good time for us. We had a lot of players who played a lot of games, and so we've relied on the same players. Training's been good this week, and yeah, we've got the internationals back now.
And in terms of bodies, you were hoping the international break would give some of them a chance to get back. How close are the three that have been getting there?
Well, Tommy Conway will be available, Matty James will be available, Cal will probably need another week, maybe, something like that, but he's back out in the grass with us. So yeah, they've made progress, and we've Thomas Callis is doing okay, so hopefully he won't be too long either. Yeah, it's just frustrating when you pick other injuries up, like Alex Scott came off for England the other night, and so he won't be available this weekend.
Okay. Can you tell us any more about that in terms of the severity of it?
Not lots at the moment. It's a bit of a minor knee ligament injury, but I don't know I don't know what the time frame would put on that at the moment. So it's a bit unfortunate for us and certainly for him, but we'll see.
I think that's probably, from my memory in the last couple of years, it's probably about the first time he's not been available through injury, which shows his resilience. But good that it's not a serious one that's going to keep him out for an extended length of time.
Yeah, we're still assessing it. I mean, he only got back yesterday, so had it scanned, and we'll just see how that develops.
And for Tommy Conway in particular, having played so well and missed quite a chunk of the season now, I'd imagine every player wants to get back, but he must be really chomping at the bit.
He's been excited about training recently, and yeah, he's very much looking forward to be back involved if he's selected. Yeah, so but yeah, it's good to have him back. He's very popular amongst the rest of the players, and I think everybody recognises that he's a talent too. So good to have him back into the selection picture.
And actually, you say about having that little bit of a break, and when you have been through a long season with a relatively small squad, and you're asking a lot of players, does that help refocus for what a few matches left, and it's slightly that difficult situation where you're not really challenging at either end or worried about the bottom end of the table, so it gives you a chance to really refocus and set targets for this last 6 weeks?
Yeah, look, the big thing about it is we need to continue with our own development, and so one of the big challenges for players, I think, more than anything, is to drive themselves forward. But just looking at the way that we've trained this week, we've had a number of the younger players with us as well, which is always good for them to be involved, and you can see that there is a competitive edge, which is good, and so I suppose the proof will be in the results. I just want us to go out there and play full tilt in every game. That's what we're always looking to do, because one of the big things about how we've tried to construct the squad is for it to be a team with energy that can play at high intensity, and so we've got to replicate our best performances. That's our best way of winning games, and by playing at a really good tempo, and because we can utilise what we have, and that is we've got some decent pace within the squad. So yeah, that's the challenge. Every game comes up is a different sort of challenge. We play against a side who have had a real mixture of fortunes this season, and have got stuff going on off the field, which I think will be it's it's something which can sometimes sidetrack sides, but also it can bring them together, and I think they're fighting really hard, and so it'll be a tough game for us.
One other player who won't be available for you for different reasons, Mark Sykes, after his suspension. I would imagine that was a big frustration when you find out that was going to kick in.
Massive. Yeah, you can probably tell I'm very annoyed about it, just because of how it came about, the inconsistencies again. We're preparing a footage that we'll be sending back to the authorities who, they're so inconsistent. We've had players and the reports that have been sent back to us, and we'll send them back to them, by the way, just to highlight how poor the consistency is. So we've had players like Joe Williams, when we played Wigan away, he was kicked out at, and that was just turned down by them on the day, pathetically. We've had Joe Williams receive a really bad challenge against Sheffield United. Likewise, Matty James at Huddersfield. They're leg breakers. Those challenges are leg breakers. It's beyond me, and so they get 3 referees who are no longer refereeing to look at it, who make the decision, and so when I'm not necessarily arguing about that, although there's not a lot in it. Even when I looked at it, I thought, yeah, okay. What about the cynical challenge on him? It all points to the fact that they continue to frustrate everybody in the professional game by mixing up their reasons and continuing to send very confusing mixed messages back out to the professional game. And I think it's quite frankly disgraceful.
So this weekend, you mentioned Reading. They haven't. I think the start of the season probably surprised a lot of people. They've struggled a little bit more recently, but they do have players in that squad that are match winners. Yeah,
they've got good players. They've got good players. They've had some time in the playoff places earlier, and then they've had a difficult run. But they've got players in there with lots of experience who will, and a manager who will instill a togetherness and fighting qualities, and they'll be very much up for the challenge. Don't worry about that. So I think the situation that they find themselves in on and off the pitch will drive them on, I'm sure. Thank you.
I know, just on Alex Scott, do you think there needs to be a bit more consideration as how much football these young players are playing? Because obviously last summer he played in the England under-19 Euros. This summer he's due to play in the under-20 World Cup. He's played 3 games in a week now in international duty. At some point, I mean, the body's still developing. They're going to pick up injuries. That's just inevitable.
Yeah, that's true.
So is that a frustration for you that he's played 3 games this week and he's picked up?
But I also understand it. I've been a national coach for England and know what it's like when you want to play your best players. He's played a lot of football. It's a bit of an unfortunate, it's a contact. Sometimes these things happen. So there's no point dwelling on the fact that he's picked an injury up now. I can't. I always send our players on international duty with our best wishes, because I think it's always an honour to play for your country. So Anis made his full debut, which is brilliant for him. In terms of the volume of football, yeah, I think it's clear that we've relied heavily on Alex, and he's played an awful lot of football in 2 years. You know, we've got a player in Thomas Callis who's probably currently or has been out for similar reasons. That there is a cumulative effect on players, but we'll just have to see how Alex. Firstly, we've got to make sure that his knee's okay. That's our priority now will be to look after the interests of the player. Everything else at the moment is secondary, and so, you know, him playing for us, for instance, he'll come back not when we need him, it's when he's ready to come back, and that's something that is the biggest factor. You know, he's a talented player. He's been very good for us over the 80 something games probably he's played for us now. So yeah, it's just unfortunate for him, but he's you know, it's inevitable that players do pick injuries up. I mean, that's the modern game is very dynamic. He's always heavily involved in games. He attracts a lot of challenges. You know, we've had games of late where teams have physically targeted him. So that's another part of the game that you've just got to be able to deal with. So disappointing for us that he's missing, but the most important thing is that he recovers properly from this, and that he's able to then go back into the fray for us first and foremost, and then outside of that, I'm afraid at the moment the international scene will have to wait.
Yeah. Just on one player we didn't really speak about before the break was Kane Wilson and his comeback. It was a long way to return. I'm sure that's a big relief for him. What's his current levels?
Well, it shouldn't be a relief. It should be, you know, he's still got a lot of work to do to get to the fitness levels that the rest of the squad have. You know, and so Kane's playing catch up anyway, and it's difficult, especially when you know, games are coming thick and fast, and which means that the training program isn't necessarily as intense as he needs it to be. So that's always a problem for players who aren't, you know, starting, is they have to work even harder. And so, you know, with the type of injury that he's come back from as well, which is one that, you know, I said at the time, he's going to have to manage that as well. It complicates the if you like, the equation, but he just needs to make sure that when he trains flat out all the time, and that's until he gets opportunities. So, but you know, he's available again, which is good for us that we've got another first team player available. But we've got youngsters who are catching up too. So, yeah, that's something where, going on from Ed's question earlier about how to keep if you like, I suppose some people would say the motivation to finish the season strongly. Well, I think that can be driven by the competition within the squad. So because there are, I mean, if you think of the forward positions, we've got a lot of competition. So that, I think that will keep that pretty keen at that end. And because we've got lower numbers at the back in particular, it means that when players get their opportunity, they need to take it and keep people out. And that's basically it.
With those levels of competition, obviously Sykes being out for the next 4 games, actually Harry Cornick and Andy Weimann will be competing for that role, but can you see Kane?
They're all competing up top, because it will be to do with combinations. So, you know, the players are, you know, we've got some versatile players as well. So, you know, they will at times be asked to play positions that maybe is not their favourite, but tough.
Well, that kind of leads me on to question about Kane Wilson. Can you see him playing a bit further forward into that advanced role?
Possibly.
Attacking qualities.
Yeah, possibly. But again, all of our forwards understand their role is in both directions, and of course, so regardless of whether players are used in different positions, they have responsibilities and obligations for the team. So, I think it's fair to say we don't have forwards now who think that they don't take part in defending, because they all do. And if they think like that, they won't play.
You said in the club interview yesterday that there'll be opportunities for players who perhaps haven't had them yet in these remaining 8 games. It also makes me wonder how many more younger players you want to give a debut to.
It doesn't matter what I want to do, it depends on what the circumstances allow us to do. So you've heard me talk on many occasions about the how the circumstances can afford us opportunities to maybe blood players, but it's always easier when the team's playing well. So, and it's always less of a risk when that's the case. So it's important that our senior players continue to perform well and contribute, in a very positive way. I mean, so we've been missing Matty James. Andy King's played in midfield and played 4 on the trot, and has contributed very well to the team, but also has been very important for the youngsters. So Omar's made his full debut and played very, very well. But don't underestimate the contribution of the senior players who allow that to be the case, or contribute in a way to help manage those youngsters when they play. So it's about getting the blend right. It's about having, we certainly want to continue to become a side that's able to win ugly games. We know that we can, when we're at our best, we can play with good pace. We have got goals in us. I know we are experiencing a lean period at the minute, but I know that we've got goals in the squad, so I don't worry too much about that. Those players will come back into form, and we've been much tighter as a team as well. But look, you can never be complacent about it. You've always got to work hard at it, and you've always got to work. And the most important thing in all of this is that the team remains the most important aspect of it. Every individual has a role to play, and they are in there to do what they're good at. But I think it's really important we continue to evolve as a team, because to push on to the next level for us means being able to be more consistent over longer periods, and that's really the key to succeeding. And to do that, you need a good combination of youth and legs and know-how.
Just on Nikita Haiken leaving over the international break, did that come down to purely football?
Well, he's been offered a 3-year deal, so good luck to him. I mean, him coming here was, I think, beneficial for both parties, all 3 parties, as it turns out, because he joins his new club having had a positive experience here. He was, I think it was I don't think a particularly difficult decision for him, because he gets a 3-year contract, and we were pleased at the time to be able to have some experience on the bench, having lost Dan to Wolves. So, it's fine. Yeah. fine.
Does that provide Harvey Wells Richards now that the chance to make the matchday squad for
Yeah,
the first time for him
yeah,
this season?
yeah. And yeah, I mean, I watch Harv every day, and I've seen him over quite a long period of time, and he's somebody who I think will do fine. And we still have, if something happens to one of our keepers, we still have an opportunity, I suppose, of maybe doing an emergency. But we've got some youngsters coming through as well.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm not worried about that.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
Hi Nigel. The club's had success bringing in players from kind of League One, the lower divisions in the past. Obviously there was still League One and 2 matches on over the international break. Was that a chance for any of the recruitment team to kind of try and identify potential future targets?
Yeah. Yeah. It goes on all the time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
No worries. And obviously over the international break, Joe Lowe was in action for Wales under 21s, the first goal for him for his national side. Must be nice to see him carry on progressing.
yeah, he's done okay. Yeah, out on loan, getting good at experience, so that's good for him.
Yeah. And just looking towards Reading this weekend, they don't tend to have much possession away from home. Do you see that being the case this weekend, and do you think it will be another test of your team's patience as seen previously?
It will be. It could be that type of a game, but they'll also be direct and physical, and we'll look to put the ball into our box as much as possible. So we'll need to be able to deal with that and still play our game. So I think we've become a lot more accomplished in terms of when we are in possession, and of course we have to be also prepared for teams who set up to possibly frustrate us. But that's what I've been alluding to earlier with the questions, talking about that's how we progress as a team, finding those answers, and being able to win games when teams try and make it difficult for us. So it's just all a part of how we get better as a team.
Naki Wells revealed the other day he was contemplating retiring from international football. I just wondered if he had asked for your advice on any of that. Were you involved in that?
No, he'll know himself, and I asked him whether he'd retired, and he said no. So that's all there is to it. He's in really good. I mean, he's a player who I think is relatively low maintenance for us. So he still has a huge appetite and enthusiasm to train well and play well, and I think he and Tommy, for instance, both of them will want to finish the season as top scorers. So that's another nice little incentive that we have players who, although they get on very well, have competition.
And just finally, Bristol City were recently crowned the most sustainable side in the Championship, second overall in the EFL, only behind Forest Green. Is that
in what way? I don't understand.
Environmentally, the kind of.
Oh right, environmentally.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that kind of just?
Well, that's good news, isn't it?
Yeah, the good work that's been done over the recent years.
Yeah, but I think it's to do with the values with which the club are, and I suppose Bristol Sport are run. You know, that's something that's I think we all have to be mindful of those types of issues. So yeah, that's great.